We can't think small. We can't think, oh, people are watching this on their phone. We have to think, because there are people who still do watch it on a big
Well,
screen.
sure they
They're
do, of
still
course.
selling big screen TVs.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, while yes, the audience is shrinking, there are still few places, I think, where you can get an aggregate audience that's watching the same thing at the same time. Uh, that still sells, gets a message in front of an audience. And I think that's still the Today Show.
Welcome to On Brand with Donny Deutsch. I'm Donny Deutsch, and this is the show dedicated to a simple premise that everything and everybody is a brand today. Every company, every product, every celebrity, every politician, every political party, everything is a brand today. A brand is a set of values. And what we do here is two things. First, we interview somebody about their own personal brand. And today it's the great Al Roker. Of course, Al Roker of the Today Show, a legend. He's going to talk about his own brand. And he's just one of the most likable, interesting guys around. So I think you're going to really enjoy him talking about his brand and the evolution of the Today Show brand. And we also do something called the Brands of the Week, where we go over which brands are up, which are down, which are driving the zeitgeist. And let's get right into it now. Our first brand of the week is, of course, our Super Bowl winner, brand up for the Los Angeles Rams. Great football season, likable team. I mean, I was rooting for the Bengals, but, Matthew Stafford, got to like him after spending all those years in Detroit. So let's give a big brand up for Los Angeles Rams. They're likable guys on the team. Aaron Donald, OBJ, Jalen Ramsey, a team of stars, young coach Sean McVay. So big brand up for them. Brand up for Super Bowl commercials. They cost $7 million. The game is watched by roughly 100 million viewers. This year, I thought they were pretty creative. I thought there were some really good ones. I think my favorite brand up is The Sopranos takeoff, if you will, for lack of the Chevy Silverado. I thought that was just really engaging and interesting and a really fun way to sell a Chevy Silverado. So, but brand down for ads in general. Basically, 76% of people watching Super Bowl ads say that they watch the game. Part of the reason they watch the game is because of the ads. Yet in a traditional ad, nearly a third of TV ads played to empty rooms, except during the Super Bowl. Researchers found that nearly a third of TV ads played to an empty room. Viewers are 4 times more likely to leave the room or change the channel. So ads in general maybe are under fire on television or wherever you're watching them, but certainly on the Super Bowl, they're as strong as ever. They cost $7 million to buy one. Brand up for betting. 31 million Americans bet on the Super Bowl. They've forecasted about $7.5 billion be wagered. That's up from 35%. The amount of money is 78%. The amount of people is up 35%. And that's, of course, now betting is legal in so many different states, and you can do it by your phone, so there's no surprise there. I've said on the show before that I don't know why that's such a good thing. I mean, obviously it's more revenue for the states, and it's better for certain businesses, but I don't know. Encouraging people to gambling, and which leads me to my next brand down, which is online gambling for kids. A slew of apps and games that stimulate sports and casino betting are gaining popularity among kids. It's the line between gaming and gambling is getting blurrier, so basically kids can do social betting, which involves no real money, but can lead to the real thing. Global downloads on social gambling apps increased from 33 million to 1.3 billion in 2020. So this social casino is basically things that you can get through Facebook and Zynga, let players put virtual money on games like poker and blackjack. So you got these apps where kids can play these games for free. I don't know, blackjack. Do you want your 7-year-old playing blackjack? I don't know. So we'll see. Got to give him a brand up. I don't like him, and his brand I think sucks right now. But Aaron Rodgers, a second straight MVP, 4th of his career. So you got to give him that one. Brand up or down for Trump's accounting firm, no matter how you measure it, no matter how you look at it. Brand up because it's going to be a very, 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 very bad day for bad things coming for Donald Trump. They said they can know this is the Mazars firm, been his accounting firm, and they came out and they said you cannot rely on our documents of the last 10 years. That under further scrutinization and as they've been going through the investigation, There are so many discrepancies. They said they can no longer work with the Trump organization, that it's a conflict of interest, which suggests their relationship with the government. But basically, your accounting firm comes out and says, oh, all the numbers that and Trump has always been hiding behind the accounting firm. They're basically saying all the numbers we've put out are unreliable. So that does not bode well for Trump and Trump organization. Brand up for Mitch McConnell. I'm a Mitch McConnell fan these days. He basically obviously came out and said, what Trump's saying about January 6th and overturning the election is ridiculous, and the election is for real, and these people should be prosecutors. But what I'm giving it to him this week for is that Trump has given him a nickname and called him Old Crow. And Mitch McConnell's response is, oh, that's my favorite bourbon. That's the way you handle Trump. And Trump, when he throws out these stupid nicknames, you handle it with humor and you swat it away. And I give him a brand up because that's the formula. So when he told him, when he called Mitch McConnell Old Crow, McConnell's response is, thank you, that's my favorite whiskey. A heinous brand down from Marjorie Taylor Greene. But we'll give her some comedy brand up. She was roasted for referring to what she called the Gazpacho police. She meant to be referring to what was the Gestapo police, which of course was a ridiculous reference. During interviews, Greene said Pelosi was using U.S. Capitol Police officers as pawns and sending them lawmakers' office to investigate. And she said that the remark was apparent, and basically that Nancy Pelosi was having the Gazpacho police spy on lawmakers and their staff. And she meant to make the Nazi reference, but there you go. And these Nazi references are just so reprehensible. But she couldn't even get it right. Couldn't even get Gestapo right. She called them Gazpacho. So there you go. So not only is she hateful, she's dumb. Big brand out for Oklahoma, and this is scary stuff. This is Handmaid's Tale stuff. The Oklahoma legislature started its 2022 session this week with a slew of anti-abortion bills. One of the bills coming to the floor is downright dystopian. It would create a state-run database of pregnant women looking to get abortions in Oklahoma. Each pregnant woman would be assigned a unique identifying number in the database, and abortion providers would be mandated to keep the information for 7 years. And this is scary stuff. This is really, really, really scary stuff. And let's keep an eye on that. Equally as scary and heinous as Florida, Senate committee passes a Don't Say Gay bill that would bar LGBTQ discussions in schools. The proposed law, referred to critics as Don't Say Gay, bans public schools districts and encouraging classroom discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity. This is just one of those issues, one of those red meat issues that it shouldn't even be an issue, but they make it that way because I don't even think they talk about sexual orientation in school for the most part. I could be wrong, but if they do, you got to talk about all orientations. It's that simple. Brand down for the American consumer. They're cranky. Even though the economy booming, many of us still think we're on the verge of recession. University of Michigan says preliminary consumer sentiment index dropped to 61.7 in the first half of the month, the lowest since 2011. And, the consumer sentiment index is a really important thing is what's going on. Only 33% of Americans are very or somewhat satisfied with the state of the economy, according to Gallup. And that's despite a still robust economy. A lot of that, I think, has to do with inflation. Brand, you can never give him a brand up because he's a convicted pedophile or child sex abuser. I don't know the exact term. Anthony Weiner is to co-host a show with Curtis SLIWA, ready for tough questions. Anthony Weiner, of course, ex-husband of Huma Abedin, who I had on the show, disgraced former New York congressman who was texting and interacting with an underage woman several times. And he's got a radio show. And he's basically with Curtis SLIWA, who is a ultra-right conservative, and Anthony Weiner is traditionally a liberal. It's going to be on 77 WABC radio in New York. And there you go. Anthony Weiner getting a radio show. So there we go. Here's an interesting kind of, I can't give it a brand down, but a brand let's watch out, because the metaverse is the metaverse, and we've talked a lot about this on the show. But kids are flocking to Facebook's metaverse, but experts worry that predators will follow. The new virtual reality app, Horizon Worlds, the first foray into the much-hyped metaverse on Facebook parent company, is limited to adults 18 and older. However, young kids appear to be making it as its early adopters. Experts say the presence of children on Meta's fledgling metaverse raises a graver concern that by mixing children with adult strangers in a largely self-moderated virtual world, the company is inadvertently creating a hunting ground for sexual predators. In these Horizon World, users are represented by cartoonish, legless avatars. They move around in a three-dimensional landscape, interacting in real time with whoever happens to be on the same area simply by talking into their headset. So theoretically, a predator can be interacting, by a headset with virtually, obviously, and through these cartoons with younger people, but that's the way dialogue starts. So there's got to be a way to regulate that. Right now, it's concerned. So we're going to give it a brand down, absolutely, currently for the metaverse. Brand up for something called Platonic Co-Parenting. And Van Jones of CNN, a great journalist, and a friend have a baby as conscious co-parents. And Van Jones said that basically after the lockdown, we thought a lot of things. He's got 2 kids. He's divorced. He wanted another kid, and a friend of his also wanted a kid, and they decided to basically do this together. They're not a couple, but they're a team that wants to raise a kid together. I think that's great. I really think that's great. And I think it's great particularly for a lot of women who are at a certain age and, it's getting more and more challenging to have a child. And they say, I have to give up on having a kid or adopt. Adopting is great, but it is a way to say, wait a second, maybe there are different ways. And if you really think about it, if the statistics are 40 or 50% of people get divorced, you're basically setting up divorced parents without the trauma of divorce who really get along. Kids having 2 parents, and I think it's a great formula. I think, 2 loving people, the kids will have 2 homes. As I said, imagine a divorced family that who the parents are best friends, except they never went through the trauma of divorce. And so it's interesting. A brand up to the president of North Macedonia. An 11-year-old girl with Down syndrome was being bullied, so the president walked her to school. I love that. President STEVO PENDAROVSKI held Embla Adami's hand as he walked her to elementary school in the city of Gostivar on Monday. She experienced bullying at school due to having Down syndrome, and he somehow got news to the president. And he said, screw this, I'm going to take this kid to school and I'll show them. And I think that's wonderful. Brand up for designated hitters. Designated hitters, which were only in the American League in baseball, are now going to be in the National League. It's everywhere. So we're not going to see pitchers batting anymore, which is good. It's just a wasted at bat for the most part. So big brand up for the designated hitter. Brand, I got to say brand down for Entertainment Weekly and InStyle Magazine. They will no longer be in print publication. Now, they will still live digitally, and that's where the business is. And is this a precursor that just basically we're not going to have magazines in the future? I myself, I can't remember. I remember I used to wait for Vanity Fair, or Sports Illustrated, or New York Magazine, or the New Yorker magazines I used to read, and I don't get them anymore. I get them online, and me and majority of people. But those are 2 major magazine. They're not magazine brands anymore. Brands of information, Entertainment Weekly and InStyle, and they will now just be digital. So I don't want to say brand. I want to correct that. I'm going to say brand evolution. Okay, let's give it to that one. Brand up to the great Dolly Parton. Her theme parks, Dollywood, is offering to cover tuition, school fees for all staffers. Dollywood's parent company, Hershend Enterprises, said a new pilot program called Grow You aims to provide educational opportunities for the 11,000 employees across its 25 U.S. attractions. And I think that's amazing. They're doing it for 2 reasons. One, because they're a good company with good heart, but it's also harder to find employees today. It's harder to find, working people. And I think that's a great thing there. Brand up for pizza. At last, a pizza vending machine. Now, these days, pizza can arrive by car, delivery bot, and even by drone. But now you can also get a piping hot pie from a vending machine. Pizza Forno, a Toronto-based company, is rolling out its automated pizza vending machines across North America. For $10 to $13, they serve a hot 12-inch pizzas in under 3 minutes. I would have thought there were already pizza vending machines. I could be off, but we're going to give a brand up there. Brand up for at-home work toilets. Working from the toilet. Some 60% of remote employees work from the toilet at least once a week, according to a survey of CraftJack, a home improvement marketing firm. 25% say they work from the toilet daily, answering emails and messages and attending virtual meetings. The messages in the emails, I don't have an issue with. I mean, attending the meetings while sitting on a toilet, I don't know. That's just bad form. But that's where we are. And a big brand down for JetBlue Airlines, ranked the worst in the U.S. This is based on performance across 7 categories: on-time arrivals, canceled flights, extreme delays, tarmac waits longer than 2 hours, mishandled baggages, passengers being bumped from flights. Here are the overall rankings from the top, from the positive. 1 is Delta, 2 is Alaska Airlines, 3 is Southwest, 4 is United, 5 is Allegiant, 6 Frontier and American are tied for 6. Spirit is 8. Spirit Airlines ahead of JetBlue. There you go. So not good for JetBlue. That is a big brand down. You don't want that for your brand. And those are our brands of the week. All right, now let's get to our interview with the great Al Roker. Al is, you're going to really, really enjoy this one. Al Roker, the Today Show, and here we are. All right, you know where to go for trusted analysis of things, what's going on, this podcast. But where do you go for a trusted source for your day-to-day hiring needs? Well, that's Indeed. I want to talk to you about Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. It's a site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites, you can do everything that you need with one powerful hiring partner, Indeed. It partners you every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Plus, you only pay for quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. Indeed assessments help take the stress out of the interview process. Your candidates don't need to prove themselves again and again, and you can dive deeper into talking about what's important to you. Join 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/onbrand, offer valid through March 31st. Go to Indeed.com/onbrand to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. Indeed.com/onbrand. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. You need Indeed. Okay, I want to talk to you about ShipStation. Now, online shopping is not slowing down anytime soon, and with ShipStation, you'll never worry about shipping again. Make the switch to a solution that handles all your shipping needs quickly, affordably, and painlessly. So if you're shipping anything and selling anything online, ShipStation is the place to go. It's already trusted by over 100,000 e-commerce sellers. Keep track of orders from any sales channel, easily find the best shipping carrier with deeply discounted rates, and automate just about any shipping task with just a few clicks. To me, there are a lot of great things about it. It's so easy to use, and you save money with this thing, with ShipStation. So it's a really great thing. Save time by funneling all your orders into one simple interface, no matter what you're selling. Save money when you compare carrier options and choose the best shipping solution every time. And save your sanity, knowing your orders are handled and you're getting the best rates. Make shipping the easy part of having an online store. You have bigger ideas to think about. No wonder 98% of companies that use ShipStation for a year keep using it for as long as they're in business. It's that good. Ship more in less time with ShipStation. Use my offer code Donny to get a 60-day free trial. That's 2 months free of no hassle, stress-free shipping. Just go to ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top of the page, and type in Donny. ShipStation. Make ship happen. I like that. Make ship happen. No, seriously, though, if you're shipping anything and you're not selling stuff online or shipping anything in any business, check this out, ShipStation. It's really smart. I am thrilled at my guest today. He's an old friend. He is to say he's a household name is an understatement. I mean, if Al Roker is America. He's, of course, the weatherman feature anchor on Today, the co-host of the Third Hour Today. He's got 14 books. His most recent book, You Look So Much Better in Person, True Stories of Absurdity and Success. Big production company, the Al Roker Entertainment. He's been on Broadway. He's got a podcast, a cooking podcast. Most importantly, he's been in 5 of the Sharknado movies. I thought that was kind of the real calling card that we were going to focus on a little bit. And he's an institution. Thanks for taking the time, my friend.
Hey, anytime for you, Donny.
You know, I love your background. You know, your story growing up. You grew up in St. Albans, and then you went to Oswego State University. And how you got started in the business is incredible. And just the fact that they come looking for college kids to fill in on the weekend and do weather, paying you $10, and then Take it from there, because it was a little fortuitous thing that happened after that.
Yeah, look, I was a sophomore in college, SUNY Oswego, and my department chairman put me up for a job doing weekend weather at WHEN, the CBS station in Syracuse. And the news director told him, "Look, I can afford to hire a college student or a drunk because I'm paying only $10 a newscast." And it was four, newscast a weekend. And hey, for $40, this is great. So the
Sure.
oil embargo hit, gas went through the roof. I was losing money, but it was a foot in the door. The goofy part was, Donny, I never wanted to be on TV. I wanted to
To be a
work
cartoonist,
in
yeah.
television. I want to be a cartoonist. I want to be a writer, a producer. But my department chairman, the guy who put me up for the job, always said, "Look, get your foot in the door, figure out what you're going to do, and then you move from there." And at the end of, I had graduated and had moved up to the weekday weather job. And one of the competitor news directors had a buddy in Washington D.C. and they said, "We want to get this guy out of town because."
But before we do that, I want to get to a story a little, how you fortuitously went from kind of the backup guy to the main guy, because it seems very current with people using, the wrong words and the cancel culture. And somebody inadvertently on the air,
Instead of saying front, he used a word that rhymes with
yes,
female
yeah, really bad
anatomy
word,
that we
bad
don't
word.
use in
Yeah.
public discourse. And so, I got the job. My news director, that on the spot, they kind of suspended him, said, "Okay, go back up to school, get your clothes, your work clothes. You're filling in." And from there, I got the Monday through Friday job, and took that from end of junior year through senior year. And I was very fortunate. I got the greatest thing that happened to me in my career, and I think it's, that's the thing about careers, is that it's happenstance. I got a job in Washington D.C. at WTTG, which is now the Fox station, but at the time Metro Media. And Willard Scott was the Monday through Friday weatherman, and at WRC, and he took me under his wing and mentored me and just made me who I am today.
You called him like a second father. And
He literally was my second dad. Ironically, same age as my dad would have been. Willard obviously just passed last year, and the thing about Willard was, what you saw was what you got. He was a generous human being. He wasn't anybody's fool, but he was a very genial, giving, generous person, and gave me the two best bits of advice, personally and professionally. It was never give up your day job, so that no matter what I do, as long as I can hold on to the Today Show, I'm never letting that go.
yeah,
And the other one was, be yourself. Just they can take everything away from you, but they can't take that away from you.
yeah, authenticity. It's interesting that before I started doing any television, Michael J. Fox said to me, I said, "Do you have any advice?" He goes, "Just be yourself, because they'll know the difference if you're not, and that's it." And you've been, I ask everybody, we'll get back to your kind of career arc, but I just want to divert for a second. I ask everybody on this show, the whole premise of this show is that everybody and everything is a brand today, every institution, every person. What's the Al Roker brand?
I know that's a big part of you. I hate the term, in a sense, in that I almost feel like it's, in a sense, cynical that you're creating something. Uh, and I don't think if I had set out to be this, that I would have. I think life is a series of happy accidents. Some of them you plan for, some of them
Yeah.
are completely out of your control. So, I don't know about a brand. I know that, listen, I'm like everybody else. I'm a flawed human being. I like to think that what you see is what you get. My kids might argue otherwise, but I think it's look. Everybody's a complicated person.
Yeah.
People talk about, oh, there's so much ego in your business. Well, guess what? There's ego in everybody's
Sure,
business.
sure.
I don't care if you're a fireman, a policeman, a teacher,
You put three
bus driver.
three people in a sandbox. There's going to be politics, and there's going to be.
Yeah,
That's
there's
it.
going to be
That's it.
ego. But I think if I had to quantify it, I guess it's just my whole mantra, Donny, is I would like to think people feel a little bit better after having been with me or watched me than they were before. At least at best, no worse.
As a branding guy, I would have said your brand is about positivity, which, kind of plays off what you just said. That it's just that there's a positive energy, there's a genuine positive energy that you, whether it's you're doing a weather report or a segment or even some serious weather stuff, that you just hit a tone, as you said, that people feel better afterwards, and it's real and it's genuine. And I mean, that's why you've been in the seat you've been in for 25 years. I mean, it's just incredible.
Well, I mentioned my kids. My daughter Leela, who is now graduated from college and is working in Paris, but when she was about 12, I mean, anybody who says that girls are neater than boys don't have girls. And I know you do, but her room looked like a tornado had hit it,
Yeah, I
and
know
I'd
that.
been after her to clean it up. And finally, I just lost my temper and I just yelled at her, like, this is a method. And all of a sudden, she starts crying and she goes, this isn't fair. America only sees the happy Al Roker. They don't see this Al Roker.
That's very funny. Well, we do see
So
the
if
happy
America
Al
doesn't
Roker.
clean up its room, this is the Al Roker they're going to see.
You just going back to your kind of your start. So you're there with Willard Scott, and how do you get to New York? How does that happen?
Well, I first get a job. I'm in at WTTG for a couple of years, and I got a job offer to go to Cleveland. The NBC owned, then at the time, the NBC owned operated station in Cleveland, WKYC, and I'm there for 5 years, and I have a great time. I really do believe who Al Roker is today was formed in Cleveland. It was a scrappy town, still is, a lot of pride, but you had to prove yourself. And toward the end of that tenure, my news director uh, said, listen, there's a job opening. The weekend weather job is open at WNBC. You're from New York. You should go apply for that job. I'm going to call the news director, who at the time was a guy named Bob Davis. I'm going to tell him that I know you're applying for this, and that he should give you, all due respect. And I went for it, and I got the job. And it was, listen, to be doing weekend weather in your hometown. My mom and dad at the time living in Queens.
Getting to see it.
They were both still alive at that point. Siblings, the whole nine yards. And there's something about being able to come into your hometown,
Yeah.
and get a job. And when your hometown's New York City, and I thought, this is the greatest thing ever. I mean, this is maybe 5 or 6 years or 7 years down the line. Frank Field might think about
Dr.
stepping
Frank
back from one of the
Field,
shows.
as Johnny
Dr.
Carson
Frank
used to call
Field,
him, NBC's crack
crack
meteorologist.
meteorologist. Yeah. And so, as far as I was concerned, this was it. I made it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, nobody's thinking. People would say, "Oh, the Today Show, that must be your dream job." No, I had my dream job, because the idea of the Today Show just never ever entered my consciousness.
All right, that's the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify is a platform designed for anyone to sell anywhere, giving entrepreneurs like myself the resources once reserved for big businesses, customized for your needs with a great-looking online store that brings your idea to life and tools to manage your day-to-day and drive sales. Making your idea real opens endless possibilities. It's a journey, but that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. Believe me, I love how Shopify makes it easy for anyone to successfully run their own business. Shopify powers millions of entrepreneurs just like me from first sale to full scale. Every 28 seconds, a small business owner makes their first sale on Shopify. It's amazing. Think about that. Less than every 30 seconds, a business owner is making their first sale on Shopify. Get started by building and customizing your online store with no coding or design experience. Access powerful tools to help you find customers, drive sales, and manage your day-to-day. 24/7 support. You're never alone. More than a store, Shopify grows with you. This is the possibility powered by Shopify. So go to shopify.com/Donny, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Start selling on Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/Donny right now. Shopify.com/Donny. Then you eventually take over the week, and you're doing live at 5, and then you start filling in on Today, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
you got the gig.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I've had, I would argue, probably 2 or 3 unbelievable careers. I got to work at WNBC with Chuck Scarborough, Marv Albert, Sue
Susan
Simmons,
Simmons, yeah.
you know, Katie Kelly,
Len Berman. I
Pia
mean, yeah.
Lindstrom,
I mean,
Len
yeah,
Berman,
yeah.
Liz Smith. I mean, this was okay. There was a magazine. There was a New York Magazine article in like 1981, and at the time I was living in Cleveland, and I took New York Magazine. I had a subscription to it, and I remember going out to my tree lawn, picking up the mail, and there on the front cover of New York Magazine is the hottest. The title of the magazine covers the hottest show on TV, and it's the cast of Live at 5.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at that and going, I am never going to be part of something that big.
Yeah.
You
Live
know?
at 5. That's where
And then 2 years later,
that's where Matt Lauer
good.
got his start also. I mean, not his start, but that was his launching pad also.
Exactly.
What works on the Today Show? What has made it, because to me it's iconic, and it is different than the other morning shows. Obviously, it's not the only morning show out there, but it lives in a certain space. If you were going to describe the secret sauce, what would you say it is?
I would say trust and comfort. I think people are comfortable trusting us with their morning. That we're not the flashiest show. We're not the I mean, we've got some good looking people on there, but not all of us.
Right.
But I think each one of us is pretty good in our own right. But I think when you put us together, I think there is a trust between all of us, that we take care of each other, and that once we are a team, once we're together, I think we're unbeatable, because I think the sum is far greater than the individual parts.
And what's interesting, there've been incredible parts there, and you've you've watched and had a front row seat as it went from Brian and Katie to Matt and Katie to Matt and Ann to Savannah. I mean, and so it's such a talent-driven equity that the whole world shifts when these people shift. And talk to me about what, like, the show's the format's the same. It's in the walls, and once again, everybody's replaceable, and we've seen that. We've seen institutions come and go. But what kind of basically happens when all of a sudden new sheriffs come in town? And like,
well, here's the deal: we are, each one of us are temporary placeholders.
Yeah.
In a sense, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. I just mean that the ebb and flow of the Today Show, it's like, not to say that there are term limits, but there's always going to be a transition. There's always going to be the next generation. There's always going to be new folks coming in and out. And that's the nature, I think, of the show. But I think it speaks to the strength of the show, because it is, I think, a pretty solid journalistic effort, but it evolves and has evolved. But even within the 4 hours of our brand, if you will, it morphs, as the day part goes on.
Sure.
So I think we've got some really, and I think that's you talk about the secret sauce. Yes, I think the folks you see, are pretty good. But we've got some of the best producers,
Sure,
writers, camera people.
I know a lot of them. Look, I did a lot of years on the Today Show. I know, I met them all.
And that's the secret sauce, because they are a group. As a group, I think we are very, very loyal to each other.
I never met a jerk there. I've done a lot of segments. I did the professionals. I was always on, for over a bunch of years. And everybody was just genuinely nice, and and happy to be there. And you can't fake that, And I kind of got to see everybody, warts and all. And I always liked I always say in a business, you can just, as soon as you walk off the elevator, you can feel it. You can feel what a company's like. Yeah. And that's clearly the case on the Today Show. Big challenge coming up for the Today Show.
Go ahead. And one other thing, and not for nothing, but no other show in America, and I might argue in the world, has its headquarters in what's literally a temple to broadcasting.
Yeah.
30 Rockefeller Plaza, and by extension Studio 1A. There's no other place like it in America.
Yeah.
That and really historically in the world. I mean, Studio 8H is still the only studio in the world that is not physically attached to its building. It was built for Toscanini and the
Yes,
NBC
yes,
Orchestra
yes, yes, it
back in
was.
the 30s, and it's through a series of springs and levers, and it's suspended. It's not physically attached to the building for acoustical purity, where they now do Saturday
Saturday
Night
Night
Live.
Live, sure.
So yeah, and you walk in there. You've been in there, Donny. You see the alfrescoes, the Art Deco
Yeah,
palace that
yeah.
is, and that wears that is infused in our DNA too. I waxed a little poetic about it because I just, I like to think of myself as a student of broadcasting, and to be able to walk into that building every
Yeah.
day is truly an honor.
Yeah, just as a guest, I feel it. Big challenge for today's show, big challenge for all TV. The audience, obviously, on all shows are getting older. I was shocked to find on late night. Now, you think about late night hip talk shows, like on Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon, the average age is like 58 or 60. I mean, TV is aging out. How do you, because I'd like to think I'm always the smartest guy in the room and I could solve a business problem. But when you have young people who are not behaving, they don't turn on television, period. They don't turn it on in the morning. How do you stay vibrant? How do you kind of bring, do you just, is the game we just age with our audience and that's it? I mean, it's one thing you could put the best program in the world on, but if that's just not the way they consume, that's not the way they consume.
No.
So what's the marching orders within the Today Show to deal with that?
Well, I think if you look at what we're doing, with our streaming platforms, our digital platforms, the mothership still is the Today Show, but the Today Show is in different places.
Sure, Peacock, yeah.
It's Peacock. It's on Today All Day. All these places, wherever. Listen, if there's a screen, to me, it's still television.
Yes.
It may be different.
Yes.
But it's still TV. And, I think we still have to do the best. We can't think small. We can't think, oh, people are watching this on their phone. We have to think, because there are people who still do watch it on a big screen.
Well, sure,
They're still
of course.
selling big screen TVs.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, while yes, the audience is shrinking, there are still few places, I think, where you can get an aggregate audience that's watching the same thing at the same time. That still sells, gets a message in front of an audience. And I think that's still the Today Show. And what audience there is. I mean, look, we're number one in the demo, 25 to 54. The third hour of Today is number one across the board in total audience for the last few weeks. Total audience in the demo, and 18 to 49. I think, yeah, the audience is shrinking and they're going to other places, but we're going to those same places.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I think people still watch, whatever you want to call it, for either stories or people.
They watch for people, which was why there was you guys had the third hour, and then they had the Megyn Kelly experiment, which if you were anybody that understands anything about TV, you knew that was destined to fail. Because in the morning, not to knock her, there's the very things that make somebody a provocative cable host are not necessarily the things in the morning. It's almost, you want the warmth and the trustworthiness and it's not in that brand. She's got her own talents, no question about it. And
yeah, listen, she's a very talented person.
Yeah, but where you guys are now is where the 9 o'clock hour belongs, and it was.
Well, listen. Here was the chance to get a tremendous talent. And NBC took a swing. It didn't, it didn't work for any number of reasons. And so, you move on. But yeah, listen, that still doesn't take away from the fact that Megyn Kelly is an amazing talent.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about weather a little bit, in the sense that it's never been more front and center. Climate, obviously, and it's something that you talk a lot about. Why is it still that people are not that everybody, but still the majority, when you look at priorities for people in this country, don't understand where we're at, the dangerous and the precipice that we're on?
Here's what I would say to that. I think they do. I think it may be that people, it may be the terminology. Maybe, I think we did a disservice way back when calling it global warming. It should have been climate change
Yeah.
from the very beginning.
Yes, good
But
point.
I think people intrinsically know, and you as a branding person know that probably better than anybody. Uh, uh, but I think people know that something's happening. They know that things have changed. And I would argue that it's not the people who are resistant, it's a lot of the politicians.
Yeah,
I think that the people, the average folk out there, know that something's going on and they want something to be done. I think there is a messaging problem with folks, or the people who should be selling this, who should be preaching to people that we've got to do something now, for not so much for us, but for our children and our grandchildren,
yeah.
because things are getting dire.
Speaking of politicians, President Biden called into I guess the Thanksgiving Day parade and said, "My message after
Yes.
2 years, you're back, America's back. There's nothing we're unable to overcome, Al, and you are one of the reasons for that, pal. You're always up, you're always rooting." That had to feel good.
It does. Listen, like you said, I'm a kid from Queens. I grew up, lower middle class. Um, and this show has given me a front row seat to history. I just did an interview with a woman, Lena King, 99 years old, part of the 688 Postal Battalion. They were the only all-female, all African American battalion that was sent overseas. Their job, Donny, is something that most people don't think about, but was to make sure there was literally thousands and hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail that were sitting rotting in warehouses in France and in England, from the front lines and going to the front lines. They were given a year to get that mess straightened out. They did it in 3 months. Got no recognition for the most part, and now Congress, there's a bill about to be passed in Congress giving them the Congressional Gold Medal. Out of 855 women, only 6 are still alive, and I considered it an honor to do
Absolutely.
that story. But then, yeah, and the bonus to have the president of the United States run over to you and shake your hand during the inaugural, or the vice president at the time, or the president and Barack Obama yelling out to you on the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. I knew my parents were smiling down,
Yeah.
and that's it's never lost on me. Every time I come back from Queens, I go over the Midtown Tunnel Bridge and I see that city
I
laid
feel the
out,
same way.
Manhattan
I
laid
feel the
out.
same way.
I'm like, I work here. Oh my God.
I know. And you're a big part of it. You're an institution here. Yeah, I'm going to ask you this. You guys don't really do a lot of politics. I mean, you do the first 10, 15 minutes, but you have a mass audience and you need to kind of stay away from it. I mean, it's very, I'm going to ask you, not for your political views, but as somebody who is so universally, I don't have to do any research to know that you cut across all categories and your beloved red state, blue state. As somebody who's a dad, as somebody who's been in the world a bunch of years like myself, what's your explanation of why we're so divided? What it's not what you cover on your show. We're talking as two friends now. And it's just getting worse. And I just would love the Al Roker take on that.
Well, I just don't think we talk to each other anymore. We talk at each other. We don't come to things. And listen, I can be as guilty of it as the next person.
Yeah.
You come to something with your mind already made up. And I listen. I'm not saying that it's always been this nirvana where we were all kumbaya, and but there was a period of time where, yeah, you didn't necessarily agree with people. Now there are certain things, these are bad. There's no arguing, but you could at least have a discussion without people using labels, you know, conservative, liberal, Democrat. These were not dirty words. Look, you and I'm probably a little older than you, but there were in New York City, in New York, there were liberal Republicans.
Sure.
There were conservative Democrats.
Sure.
There are spectrums. we don't have spectrums anymore.
No.
You know, and if you don't fall within my box, then the heck with you.
But the reality is, if you break, that's the media's fault, because I do believe so many of us are so much more alike than not. And we're all a wardrobe of issues. And if people sat down, I think they'd agree on 75% of things. And it's the fringe that gets covered.
Listen,
and that's, you know.
Here's the deal. I learned this years ago when I worked in Cleveland. And we had, for our newscast, we had a typical, we called her Carrie Ann, a typical viewer. And Carrie Ann could have been black, white, whatever. But she cared about three things. She cared about her family. She cared about her health. She cared about her community.
Yeah.
And that's, who doesn't believe in those three things?
Yeah.
You know?
I want to talk to you a little bit about your health. I know you're doing well.
Sure.
You fought prostate cancer last year. You were very public about it, which is one of the nice things about being a public figure, is you're able to kind of bring it along. And I saw the stat that 1 in 7 African-American men got prostate cancer, which is substantially higher than the overall average. How did that experience change you?
Well, it's funny, Donny. I think whenever you hear your doctor says you have cancer,
The C word, yeah.
You kind of, wait, what? I don't feel any different, but all of a sudden you feel different.
Yeah.
And listen, I was very fortunate. It was an aggressive cancer, a form of prostate cancer, but I caught it early, and I had good health care. You know, and those are the differentiators in this country. You know, I was able to catch it early. Why it was during the pandemic, but there was a little lull back a year and a half ago. So I went and got my checkup, and that's when they noticed my PSA. But you've got to, and as guys, we tend to be kind of ostriches when it comes to our health.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, most of the time. Look, it's no accident that, statistically, that single guys are less healthy and
because they don't have their partner, they don't have women or their partners looking out for them. Absolutely,
exactly. Or you could use I don't know, nagging.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't. No, who said that? No, not me. But there you have it. So. Yeah, and Deborah said, you've got to go get a checkup. You haven't had a checkup in a while. And sure enough, that's what caught it.
Yeah. Al Roker, man, a kid from St. Albans, Oswego State, who's made good. And I can say this just from personal experience, one of the nicest, most decent people you will ever meet. Thank you for taking time, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching On Brand with Donny Deutsch and listening to On Brand with Donny Deutsch. Most of you listen, but a lot of you watch also on YouTube. You can get it anywhere you get podcasts, on Spotify or Apple or any place else. And please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you download these. And also, when you watch them on YouTube, on video, please also subscribe and also leave your comments. We want to hear from you. Basically, we want to know you're listening and watching it, and it helps us. It helps our business here. So thank you, and you have a great week, okay? Everybody, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. And we love having you here watching On Brand. And just don't miss any future episodes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.